remember that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to an Even More Stevens. We have
In studio guest today.
Yes. The one, the only, Wendy Worthington.
Yeah. So amazing. Aww. So Wendy was on our Foodzilla episode. It's funny. Her character was kind of like the Seinfeld character. I forget the name.
Soup Nazi.
Soup Nazi.
Yeah.
No soup.
You were kind of like
a nice soup Nazi.
Yeah, you were kind of like our soup Nazi, and I didn't get a chance to really work with you at all on that episode. But even just seeing you come in today, you are funny. You are funny. You have such a distinct voice. Do you do a lot of character roles?
Oh, good Lord, yes. Yeah. That's my whole bread and butter.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and a lot of cafeteria ladies.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have what I call my hairnet reel.
What else have you been in as a
right before Elsa Schotz, Foodzilla? I had been what was it? I had been the evil cafeteria lady on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, no way! I was actually in Buffy too.
Who turned out to be poisoning the students with rat poison in the mulligan stew.
Wow!
And they never they delayed showing that episode because it was about a school shooting and it was going to come out the week of the week of Columbine.
Oh my God!
So it got delayed.
Oh wow!
But I also have been. I was a cafeteria lady on Still Standing, where somebody lost a bet and had to kiss me.
Aww.
And what else have you been? I don't know. There are a bunch of hairnet.
I feel like this
roles.
is a common theme with actors because like I've been so typecast as like the annoying next door neighbor. I wasn't this. I wasn't cheaper. I wasn't a rebound. I've just been the annoying neighbor. Yeah. So maybe this is like a theme for us here.
Well, I've also played a lot of other women in sensible shoes because I played a lot of nurses.
I haven't had that in my life for whatever reason.
I mean, I was always typecast as the attractive jock.
That's That's horrible, Nick. I just feel so bad for you.
And I think your secondary casting would be like sleazy, kind of like Italian guy.
And I love that role.
Yeah, you actually really liked it because it's not you.
My most favorite parts have always been when the guy's a little bit of an asshole and
you're a villain
and a little sleazy.
Yeah,
it's so fun. Yeah, like you're playing more. You play more of these unlikable types.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I've played all different kinds of cafeteria ladies because I've been nice ones, I've been evil ones, I've been also with the nurses. I've been either Nurse Ratchet or the nurse that you really would want taking care of you.
I find that really wonderful in terms of being able to talk about your character work, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, you are getting the same role, but it's about, you're getting these opportunities to reinvent the role every single time you're playing it. It's like when you're on Broadway or theater or something and you have to do the same things with the same character. Yeah. It changes night by night where maybe you're like, okay, I'm low energy, so I'm going to try to help that with my character, make it work for my body. Or, tonight I feel like I'm going to go big with it, because if there's somebody in the audience I want to impress. But here we have the opportunity where you actually can really reinvent your interpretation of a cafeteria lady. And what I also kind of love about it is that we think every single time this trope of this quote unquote, dare I say, unsexed, unlovable cafeteria lady, but she's so much more.
I mean, maybe for you, Christy. Wendy.
This was one of the few times I ever got to kiss anybody on camera.
Oh, that's right.
She got a glow up. She was I
remember that.
You gave me a fabulous makeover, and I suddenly ran off with the school janitor to Vegas.
That's right.
Ow!
Tell me, but do you enjoy playing the unlikable role anymore?
I love playing everything.
Yeah.
And I fortunately as a character actor I've gotten to.
Yeah.
I haven't really been typecast and
Character work is probably the most rewarding.
Well, and that's what
seems like.
I mean, that's my feeling. That's why, I say, when I play the sleazy role, or I did an episode of Cold Case where I'm playing this Hungarian immigrant who kills this girl, and those parts are meaty.
Yes,
and they're fun. And what's great is you don't have to look perfect.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's really, there's a lot more freedom in those roles sometimes, you know?
Well, and the other thing is, too, that if you're playing a really unlikable character, then you can be wonderful in person.
Yeah. Yes.
Just to show
expectations
that
are
yeah.
low. Okay, that's all right. Well,
No,
and it's funny,
fun.
I do actually remember you so vividly from this experience of filming with you, even though it was short and it was a small amount of time, and I didn't really share, every single scene with you. And it was like, oh, Wendy's coming on. Oh, great. That was when I was like 17. So it goes to show you, I do think that, character work is really, I'm kind of jealous, guys. I'm kind of, because I feel like when I was on the show, I was very much this ingenue, but I was so lucky that, we were talking about how Ren in Foodzilla was kind of messing up and trying to keep her composure. And so they did that a lot. Mm-hmm. They started doing that more and more reliably for me. And so I got to play this kind of almost character where, yes, she's the ingenue because it's a Disney show and they need that to sell the tickets to the show kind of thing. But then they broke it down, right? They tried to break me down and kind of exploit some vulnerabilities. And so it was fun to get to play that. But I'm a little jealous. I mean, you guys have this opportunity to really be a part of something in your craft in the bigger picture too.
One thing I want to know, we've all really talked about our audition process and maybe some weird stuff that went in there. Do you have any cool stories about your audition process? Or
well, when I go into an audition, I try to accomplish just one of two things. The first thing is to make myself happy with what I've done in the room. Not to make them happy, not to do what they're looking for, because if I can manage to twist their expectations around, it's great.
Yeah.
Because they've probably been seeing it the same way all day.
And they don't know
to give them something new.
Oh, wow. Okay,
That's
so
good.
when you approach a script, you're not doing it, because here's the thing. When I feel like when we get a script, you're like, oh, this is how they want it done. This is the cadence. This is the sing-songiness, right, of the flow of the scene.
Oh, yeah.
This is getting technical, guys.
Especially for Disney, there is that sing-songy.
Oh, the beats are so present there. So what are you doing to honor the beats, because you got to? But while doing that, you're also like, and I'm going to throw that out the window too.
Yeah.
Well, I try to make choices that are the most interesting choices for me. That are going to exploit what I do best.
Okay,
I like that,
and that's
really
also going to twist it a little bit on its head. The best example is probably the first TV appearance I ever did. I had finally gotten an agent after a year of working at it, and I had 5 auditions. And the 5th audition was for Murphy Brown.
Oh, I love that show.
And it was to play this woman who was part of the tour of the station. But it turns out, Frank realizes that they have what is that? One of those legal things where you can't.
An injunction? Or?
Yeah, you have to stay away.
Oh, gotcha.
a restraining order?
A restraining order. Thank you.
We got it.
So they have a restraining order against her. And so I decided, rather than giving that away from the beginning, that she would be just as nice as pie and everything. And suddenly, as soon as he realized that she wasn't supposed to be there, then she gets really mean and gets nasty and turns away. And it was interesting because it was pretty obvious that they'd been seeing it the same way all day, and that suddenly I came in and did it a different way. And they went, oh, okay. Yeah. And then as soon as I got on the set, they started directing me toward the way they had written it.
That's what happened to you.
It is.
That's what happened with
you. But by the end of the week, I was back to the way I had done it in the audition.
So. Well, it's interesting because I think that happens a lot. When you come in with a fresh idea and they like you for that, but when they hire you, they still want you to deliver what they originally saw.
And if you can, you go ahead and do it for them, but then you give them the option of, I really kind of like your take on it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at least they have the option, I guess, because they see what's possible. But that's happened to me a few times in my career too, where you do something different, they like it, but when it comes down to shooting it, they want it this other way, which you got the job.
They think they want it.
They think they want it that way, But you got the job.
They don't know what they want.
No.
They've got a lot going on.
And that's why what she says is so important, I think, is that if you're trying to give them what they want, it's kind of a losing battle. I think that most executive producers or casting directors will admit they don't really have They don't know what they want.
Dude, we were just talking to our creator, and he's like, it wasn't anything that you said. He said when he was telling about how we got hired, he's like, it was your essence when you walked in the room.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And so I think you must know that about yourself. Is it okay?
Yeah.
So then how do you choose to walk in the room? I'm actually just getting audition advice. Thank you so much.
So interesting. Yeah.
How do you walk in the room?
By being myself.
And you're not in your head. You're like, I'm just going to be myself.
What I'm trying to do is when I have been given the material, I try to find what's the most interesting choice that I can make that's going to make me find this character interesting. And then I try to accomplish that in the room.
What's your process like though to figure out those choices?
The standard acting things. I mean, you look at it, you try to figure out, where's the character coming from? What were they doing right before this scene happened?
Okay.
What things are going on in their mind in the process of it?
Okay.
What other experience informs what's happening with them? Where they're coming from, that kind of
So do you have like a whole backstory just for our listeners that really in like
usually
acting?
I do, but I'm not one of those people who writes it down and writes, she was born in it.
You have a whole script just for the script.
Yeah. No, I usually just have an idea of what her life is like and where she's coming from and what informed, what's happening in the scene that's going on with that.
Do you have like any really cool secrets you used as an actor in this episode or?
Oh, for Foodzilla? Yeah. How did you approach your character for that one?
Well, I mean, there was a lot that was given in the script because she's an immigrant and she's coming from, I kept thinking Sound of Music. Yeah. She's out there yodeling on the on the hills
with the braids.
Yeah. And that she's come to America to follow her dream and that she's ended up dishing out slop for kids.
And how were you discovered? Were you discovered like in like a yodeling competition? Like how did the casting director find
the character?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about in real life?
Wait a minute, you don't yodel in real life?
I don't yodel in real life.
That was not her yodeling.
You're telling me not everything in show business is real? Oh, my life is a lie.
They presented me with a yodeler. He yodeled for me and then gave me a tape of the yodel and then I had to do my best to lip sync it.
So funny.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which was crazy.
It's kind of hard to lip sync a yodel.
Yeah. Fortunately, they didn't ask me to yodel in the audition.
Yeah.
Because that would have been
hilarious.
It would have been dumb. It would have been hard. It would have been impossible.
You definitely came from theater.
Yeah.
Definitely came from theater. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you're talking about doing the same thing over and over again in theater. Yeah. You really aren't. Because each time you're performing,
it's new.
The audience is different.
Yes.
And the energy on stage is different. And then a lot of times the actual people on stage are a little bit different. I was in the national tour of Wicked for 15 months.
Wow.
And toured the country playing Madame Morrible.
Wow.
And I did 509 performances and I never got tired of it.
Wow.
It was always different. Every time was different.
Oh my gosh.
Every time
I would have loved to see you.
That was, you said 15 months?
Mm-hmm. That's a long time.
Yeah.
I did, it was Belle on Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
For 8 months.
Wow.
And the 8 shows a week thing. I mean, that thing is a beast, really. I mean, that's a pun.
8 shows a week. A week is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But I love all of our theater sisters and brothers because it's just real hard work on your body and your voice and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how many shows were you doing a week of that?
Usually 8.
It is 8.
Yeah.
Is that like two on a Sunday?
Well, usually with Wicked it was
Saturday, Sunday,
Tuesday, Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, Friday, 2 on Saturday, 2 on maybe 1 on Sunday. Maybe the matinee would get fudged a little bit.
Oh wow.
Wow.
But Monday you'd have
off.
But
on Christmas, there was an even longer schedule, depending on where Christmas fell. We could go a lot of performances before we would even have a day off.
Wow.
But it's crazy.
Yeah, because like you always have an understudy
I had, right? In my case, we had 8 principals and 8 ensemble. And 2 of the ensemble were my understudies.
Okay.
And then we had 6 swing performers, 3 men, 3 women. And the swing performers, I don't know how they do that.
Oh my God.
Because they cover
play different
everything.
parts.
They cover everything, and they know all the different tracks and all the different the harmonies and all the different lines and everything for it. So if one of my understudies has to go on for me, one of the swings steps into her role. But it could be one of two people.
When you're approaching character work, right? I'm going back to this character idea. Sure. What is the difference between approaching the character that you have for theater, for a theatrical proscenium, and then is your performance smaller when you're doing, or is it based on the production itself? So like for our show, we were able to be theatrical. And
it's sometimes it's just a question of size, but it isn't really a question of quality. It's all the same work. But I went in for I did a fair number of Disney shows and Nickelodeon shows and things like that. And I went in for a series called Pair of Kings.
Oh, sure,
to play a ghost named Queen Oogly Boogly or Oogly Googly or something like that. And I went in and the casting director said, "You can't be too big doing this." And I said, "Let's test that."
I love it.
She said, "You can't be too big,"
You
meaning
can't be
like
too big.
go as big as you want.
Go as big as you can.
love it.
I
Your
said,
name is
let's see if you want me to pull back a little bit, because I can go really big. But really big only works if it's grounded.
Right.
If it comes from a real place.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can go as broad as you want.
Thank you.
Long as
Thank you.
the
Yes.
essence
There's
is
such a big
real human being.
difference between like Jim Carrey and Daniel Day-Lewis. You know, you look at the stuff Jim Carrey does where it's just so out there and
but it's grounded.
Well, actually, I mean,
yes and no. It's out there, but like someone like Day-Lewis, you know, he'll send like an action really into the other person.
I don't think
see him being
Daniel
big.
Day-Lewis can go really huge. He can go variations on himself, so he's not what he's playing is not himself. But that's different.
He can go deep.
Yeah,
he can go deep, but I don't see him being like. I know what you're saying, but I actually think that Jim.
I don't think he could do the mask.
Well, no, I would say the comparison, at least for me, would be this goes back to my Wayans brothers experience.
Oh, I did the Wayans brothers too.
Keenan is
so she knows.
Marlon is hysterical, although it can be a little out there and
physically
it's just,
too, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a lot of physical comedy, which is not grounded always, and it's all kind of like this flailing thing that kind of becomes funny. But then again, you're doing this for television where you're shooting a scene much longer than it's actually going to be cut down to. So they only need, a couple seconds of really funny action or physical comedy out of that moment. But it's so big. And we were talking about this in one of our other episodes where I was on the show and he's up here and I'm way down here. And the comedy together didn't work.
Yeah.
I can't be that big. But to your point, I didn't really try to find a way to make it feel grounded wasn't my knack.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you have to be someone like, even when you walk in, I hear your voice. Your voice has range. Like it's deep. It can
attention.
be, it can be loud, and you don't have. It's not like you're trying.
We all wore microphones for Wicked, and I had one friend who came to see the show, and she was very purist. She said, "You really should be able to project well enough." And our sound guy said, "We're doing this in theaters for 3,000, 4,000 people.
They're not
project.
canted because back in the day, theaters stages were canted so that you could have the projection, and it was very kind of hard to walk and do a bunch of that stuff. And you guys have things coming up off the ground. It needs to be flat.
There's all kinds of basic stuff. But our sound guy said, and you wouldn't be able to hear most of the actors under, but we'd hear you.
Yeah.
Well, that's like such a direct and honest and real compliment.
Are you kidding me? In the theater, being loud is the best compliment you could have. Right?
Well, I mean, one thing that I always get from a lot of senior citizens who come to see things that I'm in, they go, "We could hear you so well." And I'm thinking, did you like what you heard, or you were just happy you could?
Yeah.
Well,
that's so funny.
As part of the subtitle gang, I appreciate it. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I have
subtitles are.
Funny.
My husband got me hooked on subtitles recently, and I'm only watching subtitles now. I'm like, why am I doing this? But there is something to being able to hear that I would imagine that would be, and like you said, her voice.
auditioned too.
Do you do voice work as well?
I don't, and I keep kicking myself because I've had a lot of opportunities too.
That would
but
be
I just haven't
obvious.
ever gotten into that.
Sure. So now what are we've caught up just a little bit, but what have you been up to since Even Stevens?
Well, I just finished a show down at Laguna Playhouse with Peter Strauss and Jo Beth Williams.
Oh, wow.
And I just found out the other day that I'm nominated for an OC Theater Guild Award.
That's huge.
Which thrills me.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
And then the other thing that I've been doing a lot lately is a couple times a year, I get a call from the folks at Jimmy Kimmel. And they say, "What are you doing today?"
Oh, I love that.
And I say, "I don't know. What am I doing today?"
Aww.
And then they may call me. They say, "We're working on something. We'll let you know if we're going to need you."
Yeah.
So I played a lot of Russians.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Jimmy
sick.
Kimmel.
Well, this must be a very popular time for you right now.
Yeah, I bet.
But also lots of other kinds of characters, which is really fun too.
So you're kind of on like the acting creative team of Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, I don't have to audition. They just call me up.
Yeah.
I
and say,
love that.
wow.
Jimmy Kimmel seems like such a good guy.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
Italian.
Yeah.
We're apparently all Italian.
Yeah.
I didn't really
I'm not
realize
Italian at all.
Yeah,
it's
but
okay.
You're everything.
Yeah.
You're all
part of the
one.
familia now.
I couldn't play it then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was kind of Russian. Kind of leaked into
I'm
that
sorry.
too.
Yeah. Having just done the Russian.
Yeah, exactly.
I do a lot more Russian than I do Italian.
So, where did you start? Where did you come from? Like, you didn't grow up in L.A.
No, I grew up in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Go Eagles,
Go
I
Eagles.
guess.
Yeah, that's right. Big weekend.
And I got involved with a summer enrichment course in filmmaking when I was in 9th grade, and I thought I would be a writer, producer, director. And then in around 11th grade, I thought, well, I should find out what acting is like too, so that I just have a point of reference for that. So I auditioned for my high school musical, and I played Bloody Mary in South Pacific, which I could never get cast in now. I walked out on the stage for the first time, and I went, "This is nice. I like this." But I knew I was a character actor, so I didn't concentrate on doing it full time. At first, I figured eventually I will do that. And then I helped start a nonprofit organization that taught kids filmmaking, TV production, and radio production.
In 11th grade?
Yeah, well, right after I graduated from high school.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then I went to Temple University and
Temple's great.
majored in radio, TV, film, and continued with the nonprofit, and then started doing community theater. Did a lot of musicals and a lot of shows and things like that, and figured eventually I'll concentrate on acting full time. And then by the time I was in my late 30s, I had pretty much done all the nonprofit jobs I was interested in. And I thought, I think maybe it's time. And Jonathan Demme came to town to make the movie Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an audition with him, and then I got to meet him.
But you said you did have an agent, or you didn't?
I actually did have an agent.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't need an agent in Philadelphia, but I did have one because I was running the telemarketing campaign. I was working at a theater at that point, and I was running their telemarketing campaign. And one of the people who was working for me came to me after a couple of weeks, and she said, "I really can't do this, but I would like to represent you." So I had an agent.
Wow.
In a town where you didn't need an agent.
Yeah.
So when I had done a couple of films, and then I had done when it came up for time to do Philadelphia, they kept saying, we're going to use you, but we're rewriting the script. And then I kept hearing these rumors. Okay, you're going to be a member of the jury in the trial that Tom Hanks is leading. And then they said, "Oh no, we've rewritten it. The jury is out." And then finally they said, "Okay, you're going to be a cleaning lady at the firm where he works."
They really wanted you in there.
Yeah. It was like 2 months, and I was going crazy because I kept going, "Just hire me."
Yeah, I was going to say like that. Those moments are always like just a mind fuck.
And I was at that point a must join. So I knew as soon as I got the job, I was going to have to join the Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah.
Right.
So they brought me down, and I sat in a trailer downtown Philadelphia and saw Jason Robards walk by and Denzel Washington walk by, and then they had this unknown actor who was playing his lover in it, who was Antonio Banderas,
Oh,
as it turns out,
unknown
who
actor.
barely spoke any English at that point.
Oh, wow.
And then they came to me at the end of the day and they said, okay, we're running late. We've got a big crowd scene to do, and it's cheaper for us to rip up your one-day contract and put you on for a week and get around to using you at some point this week.
That's such like big. Can you imagine?
And at that point,
don't mind that.
And
Hollywood.
at that point, the initiation fee to join the union was 2 days' work. So
you said, okay, this is
I said,
a sign.
I said, fine.
Wow.
Works for
So
me.
they brought me down another time, and I got to sit there and watch them work, and you know, they didn't get around to needing me, and then they finally did, and they brought me into the makeup trailer, and as I sat down, I realized I'm sitting next to Tom Hanks.
Wow.
In the makeup trailer.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's
who
so
goes,
great.
hi, I'm Tom, and I'm thinking, yeah, I know.
Wow.
And so then I got to work just with him. And we did a little scene, and he was boasting about, you know, how he got this big case, and he comes out and he sees me with my cleaning thing, and he's dancing around with me, and he's tossing paper towels up in the air and everything, and he says at one point, "It is good to be king." And then at the end of the scene, Jonathan Demme says, "Everybody be quiet," and he points a microphone at me, and he says, "Okay, I need you to laugh for a couple of minutes. Tom, help her." So I had to sit there and laugh for like 5 minutes while Tom Hanks made faces at me.
Oh my!
That must have been pretty
God,
easy.
that is
It was
awesome.
very easy.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I have no idea what he wanted that for, because I ultimately ended up getting cut from the whole film.
No, the whole scene got
The whole
cut.
film.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I thought, well, they don't need this scene.
Yeah.
They really don't.
Yeah.
But then a couple of years later, so that was I was still living in Philadelphia when I did that, and that was kind of, okay, I think it's time now.
Was this
Take him out to-
pre-bosom buddies or post-bosom buddies?
Oh,
post.
Yeah. That was really his
Yes, first one.
rounding
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So several years later, I was out in I had decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and come out to Los Angeles, and packed up my U-Haul trailer and drove across the country and kind of stuff. And I ended up getting cast in a movie called Castaway.
Oh yeah.
And they had a whole group of us in you know, people forget that there was more than him and a volleyball in the movie. I was part of the family at the Christmas dinner, and they gave us all our actual first names, so we didn't have to remember who was who.
Right, smart.
So I was Wendy in that. And he sat with us the whole time. He could have gone off to his trailer, but he sat with us in between takes and setups and that kind of stuff. And we just sat around and talked. And one of the guys in the cast said, you know, I got my SAG card working on Splash. And he said, oh, what did you do? And he told him everything. And I said, well, I got mine working on Philadelphia. And he looked at me for a minute and he said, it is good to be king. No! And I thought, the scene wasn't even in the movie, and he remembered the line.
That is.
Oh my God, I legitimately, Wendy, I just got
amazing.
goosebumps.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Wow.
He's
Oh my
just such a
gosh.
great guy.
Yeah, he's like
That's
one of those
amazing.
people that, well, first of all, I love having you here for a couple of reasons. One, great to catch up and
Yes.
see you again. But
What a way
two,
to
like
honor the
one,
show.
yeah, one of the conversations that has been kind of like a recurring theme for us here is kind of like the impact of the business on people, on
Yeah.
actors, especially. It makes a big difference, like where you come from, your age you get started, all those
Mhm.
things. But
Yeah.
you seem like it. You can tell that you love the business.
I do.
That you
I do.
love, especially.
And I'm lucky that we're all lucky that we've gotten to do what we love doing.
Absolutely,
Surely
absolutely.
we are.
So many people
to do
come here and
theater-
don't get to do
And to
it.
do
That's
theater,
true.
you have to really
Yeah.
love this
Yeah, you
business,
do.
right?
You
You have to
do.
really love being on stage because it is a grind. But yeah. So and then to hear about the other people that you've had an opportunity to work with and hear that they're great people.
Mhm.
He's one of those people that you get the feeling that they're just a great person. Like
My
they're
experience generally has been that the best actors are also the nicest people
authentic.
because they don't have anything to prove.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
He doesn't have to prove to anybody that he's a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
So he's just relaxing. He's a great guy, and he's just very giving and very
Wow.
Yeah.
generous.
Yeah. And very
Really
raw.
wonderful.
His heart is always in his performance, and he can do comedy so well.
Have you seen A Man Called Otto?
No, I have
Oh,
not.
he's wonderful.
Wow.
I thought when I saw the trailer for that, I thought, oh, this is going to be, sappy little. I know exactly what this movie is, and it's just so well done.
A Man Called Otto. Okay,
just
gotta see it.
Great.
Wow.
Yeah, it's based on I think a Swedish film or.
Big is still one of my.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Me too.
Big was.
I mean, and it's like that
canon right there.
I was young, I was a kid, so to see him in that role, that's one of the films I want to go back and watch. I haven't seen
it's so
that
good.
in so long.
It's so good.
Bosom Buddies,
Yeah.
obviously.
I haven't seen it.
Well, he and Peterson Larry.
It's some just
Tom Hanks
classic.
is great.
Yeah.
Classic.
You've given me some movies to go back to watch.
Almost
Oh my
reminds me
gosh.
of a young Shia, really, in Bosom Buddies. To me, a little
I
bit.
could see
Yeah,
that.
it's actually very, very true. Like if there's anher actor out there that you can compare Shia to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess I could see that.
Yeah,
Now, what
definitely.
was your experience like with Even Stevens? Like, do you remember?
I just remember that it was a load of fun to do. I mean, it was usually I've done about 100 film and TV projects.
Wow.
But I'll often just do, a scene or two in an episode. And I don't get so often to be the main guest star.
Yeah.
And so that was wonderful in that respect, because I got to work the whole week
Mm-hmm.
and go all over the place. I mean, we went to a school cafeteria for the flower fight scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody's weird house was my strange little witch's house.
Yeah.
And, in a neighborhood, I didn't even know where I was, because at that point I hadn't been here all that long. I'd been here about 7 years when I did Even Stevens.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
hadn't
we
been a
were
really
down
long
in
time.
by the beach. Everything we did was by the beach, and Cheviot Hills was one
Cheviot
of the
Hills was
different
like-
examples.
Yeah, and I don't think I was either of those.
Wasn't our
locations.
house in Cheviot Hills?
It was, yeah.
right?
Our main
Yeah.
Even Stevens house,
Yeah.
the exterior was in Cheviot. But
Please,
the
please don't go.
interior was-
Don't go drive those people nuts. They're nice people. Don't go stop by the house. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I wonder what that's like to be like, yeah, my
we
house
should
is
drive
featured.
by sometime. Just
That
to
would
go.
be funny.
They
Just
must,
to go
I bet you they hate it.
Yeah.
They'll tell us to get the
I don't.
You like
For,
driving by the house you grew up in.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. First of all, I don't think they're gonna mind if we drive by, but I don't think anyone's out there trying to
I don't think
find out. I mean,
Oh no! Did you see the whole story about the Christmas Story house?
Oh, the Home Alone house?
No, it's the Christmas Story house.
Yeah, the Christmas
Oh.
Story house.
Yeah,
the
dude.
Dallas.
Oh, the one guy?
mansion. There's a couple of places.
Well, I mean, there's
the
definitely-
Brady Bunch house.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, well, there's
Aw.
definitely a couple of houses out there that have become iconic,
Yeah.
and
The Home Alone house
these
for
films
me,
have
I
been
would drive
around.
by for sure.
Yeah.
For sure I would lurk.
Well, I won't say nothing to anybody else.
Yeah, right?
But we should drive by.
Yeah, I know. I would, yeah. So that's fantastic. I'm glad you had a good experience with us. And
I
I was
did,
sort
I
of
did.
sad that we didn't bring your character back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
She
we
ran
had
off to Vegas. And,
Oh, that's
That's
what it
true.
was. She
Well-
wasn't ever going to come back.
Well, I think that's the one of those things that we talked about again, like that ensemble moment. Whenever there's this feeling of like a bigger cast, that it's
Mhm.
not just two people that the show is so focused on. Yeah, there's just something about it that is a little more special.
well, it was always fun when I did get to come back to something.
Yeah,
Because there were a couple of shows where I did. I did a Ally McBeal.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be a one-shot deal and ended up being 5 or 6 episodes.
that's so great.
That's
Yeah,
and
so
then
cool.
and then an episode of Bones where I was just the waitress, and so then they decided every time she came to the cafe when the waitress had any lines that I got to
God,
have
you
it.
live for those moments when
Oh,
you're when
yeah.
you're an auditioning
do you,
actor.
have, do you have really good relationships with casting agents? I'm
Yes.
curious.
Yes.
Because nowadays when you're
Casting directors are wonderful.
really?
They
Okay.
really are. They're really your friends.
They
as an actor.
I
Are they?
agree
Yeah.
100%.
Most of them
Yeah.
are.
I hate casting directors for the most part. I do. I'm sorry, but let's talk about it. I'm curious. Like,
Well, I mean,
what is-
they're the reasons that I got all the opportunities
Yeah.
that I did
because they
were the
believed
ones who
in your
they were the
method.
ones who came out to see me in things.
Okay.
And they remember you.
They remember me, and
okay, so you just kind of have to have relationships with them, or
well,
do they just?
it's
have
not
to
so
believe
much
in
that
you?
you're buddies with them or anything like that, but you want to, because that's something that I try to. When I go in for an audition, I'm not really trying so hard to get that particular role. I'm trying to make them glad that they brought me in.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
So that when I come back, that they will bring me back for
You're
something.
invested in the future of your career.
Absolutely.
You're not thinking desperately in the moment to moment, audition.
And then the other thing is that as soon as the audition is over, I need to go do something else. Like as soon as I'm done here, I have to go buy eggs. Remember to buy eggs.
You are so you need to be an acting teacher. Like I am learning so much today about your approach, and like you're so wonderful. Honestly, I was thinking this before when she was talking about it, but like, I have 2 daughters, right? A lot of people will ask me like, would you want to put them in the business? And it's obviously a very triggering and loaded question for me. But at the same time, of course, I'm willing to hear all sides.
Well, how old were you when it got started?
6.5.
Okay.
In theater, though.
Theater.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so my current response for the last 2 years has been, because one is 6 and one is just turning 4.
Wow.
So it's like, look, first of all, they're potty training, right? Practically finishing that. And second of all, if they want to what would be most important is that they have an appreciation for the arts, that they have a very strong and healthy exposure and relationship to all different things. I bring them to all the different ballets. I bring them to Nutcracker every Christmas. It's a tradition. I'm encouraging them to play different instruments and things, but not ever pushing.
Sure.
Encouraging and pushing for me is very different. Exposure to that is also really great, because then it lives subconsciously in your well of desire, if that is so for you and your spirit. So yeah, I'm trying to exist next to what I may have an opinion about, right? So that I don't put anything, so that they don't inherit anything of mine, right? But I'm still I love your story, because you have had such a solid, like linear way of thinking about all of this that has built up to this sort of legacy of solid and respectable work and a career.
Well, and relationships too.
Right.
Like, I mean, even though you said that they're not your buddies, but when you're living this business, you're in it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And those people think about you. And that is an important relationship. That's why, like, when I was in the business, I worked enough to have a little bit of a career for 15 years. But a lot of that had to do with the casting directors that would always bring me in. Just the same people all the time. And one of my things when I would go in is I wanted to make them look good.
Yes, absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
my job was, obviously I had to book the part and do my work. And that's a big part of it. Show up prepared, show up on time. If you don't do those things, you're not making them look good.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
And they stop bringing you in
But
for
guys,
stuff.
there's no bringing in anymore. You're just going
I
on.
know.
Well, that's-
So
I
how
know
are
the
you
business
dealing
has
with this
changed
now?
so much.
Yeah, how does that feel to you?
That I hate it, actually, to
same,
be honest
same.
with you.
Yeah, it's very hard.
You don't get the
Because-
person's essence or aura.
You don't get feedback.
doing
Like,
Zoom
it's so
stuff?
impersonal.
The casting directors would often do a pre-read with you in the old
Yeah.
days, where they would come in and you would
Get a little extra notes.
You would show them what you wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
And once in a while, that was kind of annoying because it locks you into a particular approach to a role. I was up for in 2.5 Men. They had written this Russian woman, another Russian, who wakes up in bed with Charlie, whatever his name is, and he's just like shocked that he's with her, and she turns out to be their housekeeper.
Oh my God! I never realized. Was that you?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say because I think I remember that role too.
It was written as a Russian.
Yeah.
We went in for pre-reads. Some people went in for pre-reads, and we showed them what we would do with it. So they brought 6 people in for it. And as we were one by one all gathered outside the room, being brought in one at a time, Conchata Farrell stands up and goes, "Oh, hell, I'm doing their Southern," and walks into the room and went, "Could I do it Southern too, please? It would be even funnier." But she got to do it Southern. We still had to do it Russian because that was how we were brought in. And of course, that became
the role. Interesting.
Bold choices.
So yeah.
Wow.
And that was her essence, I guess.
So there would be some times when we would do a pre-read and I would feel I was kind of locked into it because that was why they brought me in. But they would bring in like 6 people for a role. Now, because they're not bringing you in person, first of all, you don't have an opportunity to go in the room and show them that that first of all, that you are a professional.
Right.
But second of all, that you could be fun.
Yeah.
Or funny.
Fun and enjoyable to work with.
I think the pros about these virtual castings are that people from all over the country can I mean, I'm saying theoretically, but if you're somebody who's, in
but it also means that they can look at 50 people instead of 6.
No, 100%. I mean,
and they can also look for exactly what they thought they were looking for instead of being surprised by somebody coming in the room and showing them something
It depersonalizes the experience.
But what I'm saying is if you're someone who has an aspiration to be in this business, you can be anywhere and have an opportunity.
It's theoretically.
No, I'm saying, the opportunity is there. Mm-hmm. I mean, whereas before you would never be able to submit a video and really be seen in an audition.
Yeah. Although before I moved to LA, I came out for about 10 days in January. I moved the end of the summer, but I came out in January for about 10 days. And before I came out, I said to everybody I know, who do you know in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're in the business or not. Who do you know in Los Angeles? I want to take them out for coffee. Yeah. So let me get a sense of what it's like to live in Los Angeles. Can I do that? I've lived in Philadelphia all this time. It's a different thing. And so through all of that, I happened to get an opportunity to meet with one of the brand new agents at the Gersh agency, which is one of the big boutique agencies. And he'd just become an agent, and he was a friend of a friend of a friend. And I contacted him and I said, I would like 10 minutes of your time. I'm not expecting you to represent me. I'm not moving out here yet. I just would like to pick your brain. So he said, yeah, okay. So I went in and met in his office. And we ended up talking for like 25 minutes. And then he followed me out to the elevator and he said, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, nothing. He goes, I'm going to send you out on an audition. And he sent me to the casting directors at Home Improvement.
Oh, great.
And then he called me up and he said, okay, I called them for feedback on what you were like. And they loved you. The only thing is that for this particular role, they wanted someone who's about 6 inches taller than you are, because they want somebody to tower over Patricia Richardson. And it turned out that the person who got the role was Mary Pat Green, who I have become friends with since then. And it was her first TV show. But I wasn't living here yet. Yeah. And if I'd gotten the role, I would have had to change all my nice reason to change them. But so it is possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of it. It actually takes away a bit of the excitement. And kind of the urgency, like when I know I have to go in front of people, that adrenaline rush makes me work harder.
But it is nice to be able to audition from far away, because I auditioned for Wicked. I did the live audition here for Telsey, the casting directors.
Of course, Telsey, yeah.
But I just said, okay, it's time for my annual Wicked audition, because it was like 2 years before I got cast.
Yeah.
But and they kept saying to me, you're going to have to fly out. You're going to have to pay yourself to fly out to New York to meet the casting, the creative people in person. And it turned out I never did. They did all the rest of it on tape.
Well, I mean, think about it, Chris. What Matt said, last week. How would our audition be different if we had to do it through Zoom? Because it wasn't anything we did. It was something we walked in the room, and it was our essence.
Yeah, you take out the moment where you walk in the room.
How could you have a person's essence through a Zoom video?
And it's also frustrating because how do they know how many takes it took you to get that audition? You might be.
That's a good point.
You might one of those people who's not really that good at memorizing.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't think I'm good at self tapes. I don't enjoy the process. So the only benefit for me is I can just do it a bunch of times, and try to determine for myself which one I think is best. But I don't know if we're the best judge of what we think is best anyway. It's sometimes the audition where I thought I did terrible on, that the one that you actually book. But there's one other layer to this whole thing that has nothing to do with the audition process, but how casting and executives value who's walking into the room, which is kind of like the social media aspect of it now. There's a lot of people that look at that as like an important factor in whether you're the right person for the part. And
I think as an older character actor, I get a little bit of a pass because they don't expect me. They don't expect me to be as good with social media as you are.
Speaks for
itself. Exactly. You are. Yeah,
I think reels are important, though. I do think reels.
They are.
I don't have an updated reel, and that's frustrating.
I don't have a really updated reel, but I don't need to.
Did I tell you guys what I had to do for my reel once? It was like right after I did Kicking and Screaming and Rebound, and I needed some new stuff because I was a little bit older now, and I pretty much just had Even Stevens on my reel, right? Yeah. So I wanted to use it for auditions. They wouldn't give me a copy of it for my reel at all, right?
Oh,
so what my dad and Turkey did, my publicist at the time, they went to downtown LA and went to like a 7-Eleven and found a guy selling pirated DVDs out of the back of his truck.
Yeah.
So what they did was they tried to find the best pirated copy. That's,
Oh, wow. Yeah, because it was really hard to edit your reel.
Saying the best pirated copy is like the sanest ex-child actor. Yeah. You ain't going to find a lot. So we found the best pirated copy. We put it in our demo reel. And it's, you get great footage with Dolby surround sound. And then you get to the pirated footage, and you literally see someone like walk in like, God, this movie blows.
That was your reel?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And it was like, yeah, we're not going to be able to use that.
Oh, no.
So do you have any crazy, experiences like that being an actor?
Well, no, I know a lot of people who don't have a lot of footage.
So what would they do if they didn't have a lot of footage?
You can create and you can get a lot better technically now than you could then.
Yeah. Well, and you can create. I think
you
now
can create some pretty astonishing stuff.
Everyone is a creator now. Everyone is a content producer.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, back then you needed some I know it was you wanted a network show that people would recognize. It's not. Again, this is more for the younger audience.
Yeah.
They don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
They just have to show that they know how to produce content. And
and I think it's safe to assume that the casting associates now are also younger too, because some of the ones that are their interns are way younger than us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So they're very savvy.
Well, a lot of the ones I started out with are starting to retire now.
Oh yeah. I know. I feel like Joey Paul, who casted us, is probably on our way out as well. Well, look, I mean, we are so blessed to be able to come back this many years later and still get to talk shop.
Yes.
This is the most acting I've talked about in years.
Right? Yeah. But with such
But God bless Joey, because she was the reason that I got a shot at this.
Joey Paul's going to be out the door soon as, she's been doing this forever. You know?
Yeah, I know.
You never know. I mean, my commercial agent finally retired after she's in her 80s now, I think.
Wow.
And God bless her. She said the commercial field has changed so much that she just can't make money on it anymore.
Well, I hope you never retire.
I know.
I hope you keep doing what you love to do.
I mean, that's the great thing about being a character actor.
Yeah, exactly.
Before I let you leave, I was going to ask you, do you have any advice for any actor starting out? You've been working your whole life and you got 1 million credits under your belt. What would be your number one advice?
Number one advice is don't set deadlines for yourself. Don't set goals specifically.
Horizon.
Yeah, because you never know.
Horizons, yeah.
Your journey is going to be completely different from anybody else's. And if you've got an idea that this means I will have made it, well, define make it.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, and if you really love it, keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Don't say, especially in the beginning, say no to porn, obviously, but don't say no to anything else.
What about OnlyFans, Wendy? There's this new thing out here. I'm just gonna say, okay, never mind.
Thank you so much, Wendy. This has been an amazing episode of Even More Stevens. We hope you guys enjoyed. And please, where are you? Where can we go follow you? Are you online?
I'm on Facebook.
There you go. She's on Facebook.
I'm on OnlyFans. You can find me there.
I don't think he's kidding. I think.
Oh man, we'll have to find.
Thanks for coming in, Wendy.
Thank you so much for
Wendy. Thank you.
This was delightful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
See you guys again soon.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Even More Stevens podcast. For clips from our pod, go ahead and check out the Podco YouTube channel. And for exclusive weekly bonus content, join our Patreon. Links in the description.